Hello everyone, and welcome to Season 3 of the Happiness Journey with Dr. Dan. For this season, we'll be bringing guests who will share their own path to happiness and the many struggles they face during their journey. Now, we all have a different definition of what happiness means to everyone. For some, it's a huge mansion by the ocean, while others will prefer excellent health and longevity. Now, in this season, my guests will share their journeys on overcoming challenges and managing it, keeping moving forward despite the odds. This show will make you laugh or cry, but most importantly, it will inspire you. Now, if they went through tough times and survived, you can too. Now, no matter how hard things may seem, there's always something good coming around the corner. Sometimes, painful things can teach us lessons that we didn't think we needed to learn. Today, we have a special guest and author, Thomas KIelbasinski. In his new book, Project Management, provides key insights on how to successfully work on projects and how to manage staff, deadline, and so much more. His previous books related to similar research related to business, employment, and history studies. He has written over 30 books, 300 newspaper articles, and over 10 years of teaching in the Pennsylvania area. His personal journey wasn't easy, and hopefully history will give you the tools to overcome your own challenges when it comes to accomplishing greatness. Thomas, thank you so much for being here today at the studio.
Thank you for inviting me, Dr. Dan. I appreciate it.
Good. So tell us a little bit of your journey.
Well, my journey's been, more of an up and down version, but they used to call me the comeback kid in college because I'd start off real slow with my grades and then bring them back up. Now I tutor and teach students the same way, basically, to not give up on their dreams and hopes and stuff like that. So like with my books, I came out of nowhere to write these books, the topics, the project management, turn my own work into actual books, the research and the development of history of Western Pennsylvania, like the Bell Vernon Evacuation Project, Oklahoma Stadium projects, expansion of the team, Oklahoma Thunder, I think it is, something like that. And just different types of strategies of how to get out of disputes with companies, how to resolve it peacefully, how to build a furniture store, and stuff like that.
So this book that you just wrote, the Project Management, what really enticed you to really get started with this?
Well, the thing is that when you're trying to write a book, you want to write a catching topic. You don't want to bore the victims. So you want to get people interested in your books, not just one book, like every single one, to catch the crowd's attention. So like an introduction, you have to say the main points that's going to catch their attention, and then write that go-getting attention appointment, so to speak, throughout the book. You want to write something exciting in there that's going to attach them, CIPs and stuff like that, and ACIPs in their fields want to get caught with that. You want to put statistics in there. You want to put mind-blowing events, comparison and contrast events, and like with weather events being Hurricane Katrina and the damages, and then how much type of projects they did to rebuild New Orleans.
So are they more case studies in this book, or is it just general facts?
Case studies and general facts. It's a lot of mixture of a lot of different stuff.
Okay.
There's a shorter version and then there's a longer version.
Okay.
So basically, these weren't easy to come up with. You just don't sit there, I'm going to type this up on the computer and give them, an idea about it. You have to think about what you're doing.
Okay.
So I went to CalU, California University of Pennsylvania, and did my projects. I didn't originally think of the ideas of coming up with the book for that. But then I was like, wow, you know what? I have all this education. Why not write some books? So, I have different books on Amazon. Easy look up, Thomas KIelbasinski, boom, there's 45 books on there, the last time I checked. But then the thing is that there's different topics. There's like physics, there's like history, there's marketing, business, a lot of different topics.
But because you know so many topics, how do you really focus on one in particular?
Well, it's called being an all jack of all trades or all-purpose back, running and catching it out of the backfield and stuff like that. So basically, you don't want to write about the same topic. You have like these authors that write about the same thing, like scary stories and stuff, like Stephen King. Stephen King has these big long books, and it's fascinating. Everybody has a different way of writing.
Yes, of course. So what kind of genre do you prefer writing? If it's outside of history or physics or
The thing is
marketing?
it depends on, you just go with the flow. The free flow writing's going with the flow like that. Kind of like an example, when I edited your book, it was a challenge. It was 520 pages, and there's a lot of editing to do. Believe me, it wasn't, oh yeah, I'll get it done in a second, flash second, and then now it's out in the market. So, I mean, from making a book to editing a book are like two completely different things. So, I mean, writing a story, like a fictional story or children's book, is completely different than writing something like this. Because you really have to think about what the chapters are made of within the book. Like how it's broken down into it and how the topics are related, planning, cost, process management, and stuff like that. So the thing is that it takes critical thinking. You just don't come off the street and say, hey, I'm going to do it.
Okay.
So it's kind of from a worst to first mentality.
So what was the biggest challenge to write this book compared to all the other 30 that you've written in the past?
A lot more information involved.
Okay.
Organization,
Research.
yes.
Okay.
Information involved, college oriented. You couldn't just take it straight from, like projects and stuff like that. You had to gain from your personal experience. Like I did this with the census, or I did this, for so-and-so company.
Okay.
Stuff
And would you say that this book was harder or easier to write compared to the history or physics or whatever?
I would say it was probably easier to write because it was more in my field. The other ones, like when you're teaching and you're tutoring, the subjects are different than actually writing the book. Because you can make up your own lesson plans and stuff like that, and then make up for the topic. You know what I mean? So if you don't have an actual lesson plan, you can go to an emergency lesson plan, which is, who's George Washington? Or write an essay on George Washington. Or who are the first 40 presidents of the United States? And then write each fact about each one. So, I mean, it's stuff like that. You have to have a various of knowledge when you're coming in, not to just teach one subject, but to teach multiple subjects.
So organizing this book compared to just writing facts about like history or physics or marketing, would you say that this one took more time than the other?
They all took, this is by far, except for the history book that I have. The history book that I have is like 200 pages. This was between 80 and 120. The other one are short-based, version-based, and stuff like that.
Okay, and when you did write, did you get any feedback from, let's say, companies that say, you know what, Thomas, this book makes sense. I would like to be able to get a hold of it.
Yes, in a certain sense, mostly with this book. The other books are kind of like in a school circulation thing, where you got to gain interest.
Okay.
I've been putting more effort into this book and the other book than the other books out there, because they're shorter base books. The bigger books have a lot of potential of making money. Like the history book that I have on there, U.S. history, world history. So, I mean, if I get that in circulation within schools, it's like 20, 25 bucks a piece, but if you multiply it times 1,000,
Yes.
2,000, a million, whatever, then you got it. So, I mean, the thing is that these aren't bestsellers by far. I've seen people, one book bestseller.
Yeah.
But that's my goal. I'd like to get it to be a bestseller.
I see, okay.
But the thing is it's just beginning its attraction out there. So, I mean, I wrote it in a small bookstore back in 2011. Then, April 2019, this one actually came out. And then the other books actually spread out. I spread them out. Since I was living in Philadelphia, and people just started giving me, these different ideas as well.
Okay.
Because the part of it is that I had a rough start in Philly, too. I went from shelter to shelter. Now I'm living pretty good. So, from going from, hardship to now promise. You know what I mean? Make multiple projects. Used to work with 10 or 12 projects, and now I'm doing the same thing. So I'm keeping myself overwhelmingly busy, with a tutoring and then a teaching part. And then the biggest thing is trying to get this out there, big time.
So what kind of marketing strategy do you use?
Well,
Because
it's
this is what authors are
called
like.
social media, It's called Facebook. It's called Twitter. It's called All in Who You Know.
Okay.
Getting on TV like this right here, and then also getting on the radio stations and presenting yourself is a very big thing and not easy to do. Because I'm not one of those people that like to get up in front of a million people or tend to say, well, this is what I want to do. But when you have to do it, you have to do it. And, cool, calm, and collective. Don't get frustrated if you slip a word, stuff like that. Professionalism. I think the old person in me has been a little bit quite happier because I've had that patience and tolerance. Been given good advice from other people, and just trying not to. There's been those intense moments where you want to blow your top at somebody, but then look, you don't want to burn bridges because
Correct.
It brings book, and oh, let me take a look at this, and look at the bright side about things instead of looking at the downside. Like if somebody says, well, you need to do this with the book, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that with my book. But open-mindedness leads you to more sales.
So how do you confront your fear when it comes to public speaking and so on and so forth?
Well, I did presentations before in front of classroom, but I would kind of choke up a little bit. But now I've kind of mellowed out a little bit. I mean, it takes guts to get in front of a TV or a camera.
Correct.
Let alone, on the radio, talking about yourself, because, you either might excite the crowd or you might bore them to death. It depends on what you're talking about, because everybody has a different liking of what they want, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, I believe I'm an exciting person because I've done a lot of things in my life.
Obviously.
I've also have fans of my social media tweets from different news reporters.
Okay. Well, we will take a quick break. Stay tuned to hear more from our guest author, Thomas KIelbasinski. Message from the universe. When hard challenges are really easy to overcome, it will all seem far easier when you keep in mind all of the time that it's supposed to be easy. Everything. That was pretty easy. Now, challenges are easy to solve because of your thoughts. You decide the path you want to take when solving a problem. It will either be easy or extremely hard. When being confronted with a new challenge, something that you have never faced in the past, it can catch you by surprise and bring you in a panic mode. Your heart rate increases, your stress level hits the roof, you sweat heavily, your mind is blurry, and so much more. You hate being in this stage of stress that you rush to look for a solution to get yourself out of this nasty feeling and fail to consider better option if you would have just taken the time to breathe and relax. By slowing down, you allow yourself to thoroughly study the problem and look for the best optimal solution that will meet all your expectations. Yes, it might require you to keep your problem around a little bit longer, but that's fine. You won't see it as a drastic challenge once you have analyzed every possible option. Take it easy, and I'm sure that you are smart enough to tackle every life challenges that are thrown your way on a daily basis. Now, to learn more about the universe, be sure to catch my show, The Happyness Journey, right here on MCM. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Dr. Dan, and I'm here with Thomas KIelbasinski. Now, we're discussing more about his many challenges in being a successful author and teacher. Sharing with us his experience is certainly appreciated by the 800,000 viewers at home. Again, Thomas, thank you so much for being here.
No problem.
So, to go back to what we left before the break, the fear that you face when it comes to public speaking, how do you work around that?
You got to be cool, calm, and collective as a cat. Can't blow up and say, blah, 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 GD this, and, save the magical words for G as in goat or whatever, F as in fruit, stuff like that. When it comes to the books, it's very competitive. I love to do it. And whether it be the editing part or the writing part, it's very competitive because there are other people out there doing it. It's not just me. It's thousands beyond thousands of people competing on an everyday basis. I want to get my book out there. I go different Facebook author writer sites, and there's always an author asking for advice from different authors, maybe not published like a million type of multi-copy $1 million book, but everybody's been to that further step to where they've been highly successful or gotten to that step where they've gotten their book out into the market.
I see. Okay. Now, when it comes to the challenges that you face to write about the topic, do you come across anything that, let's say, someone wrote about this book? Do you go and ask them, "Hey, you wrote something similar to me. What advice can you give me?"
Well, I tell them they have to be as open-minded to suggestions, because if you're free flow writing and it's kind of cut off a little bit, paragraph by paragraph, you should make sure that your grammar is correct. You should make sure it makes sense chapter by chapter. Don't go from one topic to another. Make sure the ending is solid, from conclusion, beginning to beginning, stuff like that. Make sure that you have a solid foundation of your table contents, of what your pattern of your book's going. Because if you don't have that, you're not going to sell. You're not going to sell. The formatting of the book has to be key. I wouldn't always recommend hiring a publisher, because some of them just want to get your money and then run with it. I did all my self-publishing on my own, but there was one that I did go with, but I wasn't too happy with them.
Okay.
But so I mean, you have to be picky and choosy and selective with who you work with.
Okay, so if an author will come to you and would ask about, is it better to self-publish or get a publisher, what would you advise them?
Well, it depends on how good of a writer they are.
Okay.
Because you got to know how to write. You have to know where your mistakes are.
Okay.
You could sit there and hire the best editor, but if they're not doing the job right, what's it worth to you? Nothing. Nothing. You know, it's like, if I didn't do your book correctly, you would have, you got mad at me for, hey, look, this is the thing. You needed a clean book, you know what I mean, from here and there. So, I mean, it's a very tough competitive market out there, and people will have their different choice of words of where they want to go, like, Kindle publishing, direct publishing on Amazon, or Leibniz publishing, or WordPress publishing. There's different ones out there. Okay. But you have to do your research and look at the reviews, because that's the biggest thing.
So when it comes to Amazon Kindle, or they do create your own create your own.
You can create your own books on there. You have to make sure the formatting's correct.
Okay.
You have to make sure, like, for instance, social media posts being recognized by Jessica Guay, WJSC TV, and then Rachel Vata of Cleveland CBS News or whatever it is. Different people saying that you're a top fan of theirs on social media sites.
Okay.
Stuff like that. You got to make sure you put that in there correctly.
Okay.
As in, not saying they're a fan of your book, but they're a fan of your writing with the social media posts, supporting their stories and stuff like that.
I see. And when it comes to, let's say if someone would ask you and say, hey, you know what, Thomas, if you could guide me on how to be a successful author, what path would you take them in?
You have to go for the gusto.
Okay.
Be very aggressive and passionate of your dream. The topic, aim for the highest. Don't aim for the lowest because somebody knocked you down. Like I was quite a few times with a lot of people. I'm not open-minded to that. Get out of here. I can do this on my own. You can do it on your own, but it's going to be tougher, way tougher, if you don't get that feedback with your book.
Okay.
I mean, that's the thing. So, and then from the teacher and tutor perspective, from other teachers and professors, that might have looked at the book, feedback is very critical. Feedback is very critical. Even people that might not even know the subject, they'll know it real quickly with the information that's in the book.
So ideally, you'd say, get out of your comfort zone, because most people, they just love writing, but they're not really good in marketing. So they have to really be, wearing all hats.
You hear a lot of them crying and complaining, oh, my book isn't selling, blah, blah, blah. I paid this much for the publisher. That's how a lot of people are. There's only a very few percentage of successful authors out there that make a lot of money off of it.
Including Stephen King.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, it's not like, you can do it full time and be, now some people do. Some people do. They get lucky, and that's one of those things. Or they're very hard workers and they put a lot of passion on it.
And time.
But you're talking about a lot of people that own their own businesses, tutoring, and they teach, or they do some type of lawyer, doctor, they write their own books.
Yes, they do.
So, I mean, that's the thing. And they take a shot at it. You know, this is kind of what a lot of people do. So, I mean, it's good to get something out there. It's good to get your name out there. So, I mean, it's just a wonderful thing. It's very exciting.
Good, good. Well, that's all the time we have for today's episode of the Happiness Journey. I would like to thank Thomas for his time today, driving all the way from Pennsylvania. Now, thank you for coming and inspiring our many viewers. Now, we hope you have all enjoyed today's episode. I'm very excited about season 3 of the Happiness Journey, filled with inspirational stories just like this one you watched today. Now, here are a few concluding words of wisdom. When it comes to setting aside a little time each day to visualize, look at it this way. No matter how distracted you become or how confused you are about the process, the simple fact that you gave your dream this time and attention means you did it correctly. You did it long enough, and that, by the way, it opened your eyes. Already in the unseen, huge wheels have begun turning. Never give up on visualizing part, as your momentum is gaining speed, and speed is what you need to get to where you need to go. A bit quicker than usual. My name is Dr. Dan Amzalag, and have yourself a wonderful day.